MySpace, how Facebook's predecessor lost 100 million users. Picture this. It's 2005, and you're customizing your MySpace profile with glittery GIFs, choosing your top 8 friends, and discovering new bands through their music pages. Mark Zuckerberg is still just some Harvard kid with a basic social network, and the idea that Facebook would eventually buy Instagram for $1 billion seems absolutely insane. MySpace wasn't just a social network. It was the social network, boasting over 100 million registered users and valued at $12 billion. News Corporation had just purchased it for $580 million, calling it the crown jewel of digital media. Musicians were building entire careers through MySpace. Teenagers were learning HTML to pimp out their profiles, and "thanks for the ad" was the most common phrase on the internet. But here's the thing about being king of the mountain. There's always someone climbing up behind you, and sometimes they're moving faster than you think. This is the story of how MySpace went from internet royalty to digital ghost town, losing over 100 million users in what became the most spectacular fall from grace in social media history. MySpace began in 2003 not as a grand vision to connect the world, but as a desperate attempt by Intermix Media to compete with Friendster, which was the dominant social network at the time. Tom Anderson and Chris DeWolf, working out of a cramped office in Beverly Hills, launched MySpace in just 10 days. A rushed timeline that would ironically become both their greatest strength and fatal weakness. Unlike Friendster, which was constantly crashing under its own popularity, MySpace was built to handle traffic, and it allowed users something revolutionary: complete customization of their profiles. You could change colors, add music, embed videos, and most importantly, you could make your page reflect your personality in ways that no other platform allowed. The site exploded in popularity, growing from 0 to 1 million users in just 10 months. By 2005, they were adding 230,000 new users every single day. That's roughly 84 million new users per year. The music industry took notice immediately, with bands like Arctic Monkeys and Panic at the disco building massive followings entirely through MySpace, proving that the platform wasn't just changing social networking, it was revolutionizing how artists connected with fans. The numbers from MySpace's golden era are absolutely staggering and help explain why everyone thought they were invincible. By 2006, MySpace had become the most visited website in the United States, surpassing both Google and Yahoo. Imagine beating Google at their own game. They were processing over 40 billion page views per month, which meant users weren't just signing up, they were obsessively engaged with the platform. The site was generating $800 million in annual revenue, primarily through display advertising and premium features. Music was their secret weapon. Over 8 million bands and artists had profiles on MySpace, uploading 50,000 songs every single day. The platform was so dominant that record labels were signing artists based purely on their MySpace popularity, and concert promoters were booking tours based on MySpace fan counts. But perhaps most importantly, MySpace had achieved something that seemed impossible to replicate. They had become synonymous with social networking itself. When parents worried about their kids being online, they said, "Stay off MySpace." When politicians wanted to reach young voters, they created MySpace profiles. The platform had transcended being just a website. It had become a cultural phenomenon. Then Facebook arrived, and everything changed faster than anyone could have predicted. Mark Zuckerberg's creation launched in 2004, a full year after MySpace, but it had a fundamentally different approach that would prove devastating to their competitor. While MySpace celebrated chaos and customization, Facebook enforced a clean, uniform design that made profiles load faster and look more professional. The contrast was stark. MySpace profiles were often cluttered messes of animated GIFs, auto-playing music, and clashing colors that took forever to load, while Facebook profiles were clean, fast, and easy to navigate. Facebook also launched with a crucial advantage: exclusivity. Initially limited to college students with .edu email addresses, Facebook felt premium and desirable, while MySpace was open to everyone and increasingly seen as chaotic and spam-filled. When Facebook opened to the general public in 2006, they brought their reputation for quality and exclusivity with them. The growth numbers tell the story. Facebook went from 12 million users in 2006 to 100 million users by 2008, while MySpace's growth began to plateau. More importantly, Facebook users were spending more time on the platform. By 2007, the average Facebook user spent 19 minutes per day on the site, compared to just 8 minutes for MySpace users. MySpace's first fatal mistake was prioritizing short-term profits over long-term user experience, a decision that would ultimately cost them everything. News Corporation, led by Rupert Murdoch, purchased MySpace in 2005 for $580 million, with grand plans to integrate it into their media empire. Instead of investing in infrastructure and innovation, they focused relentlessly on monetization, cramming the site with intrusive advertisements and promotional content. Pages became so cluttered with ads that they often took over 30 seconds to load, an eternity in internet time. The site was generating massive revenue, bringing in over $800 million annually by 2008, but user satisfaction was plummeting. While Facebook was investing hundreds of millions in server infrastructure and hiring top engineering talent from Google and Microsoft, MySpace was cutting costs and treating their platform like a traditional media property rather than a technology company. The technical debt accumulated quickly. MySpace was built on outdated architecture that couldn't scale efficiently, leading to frequent crashes and slow loading times. By 2008, users were spending 30% less time on MySpace compared to the previous year, while Facebook engagement was skyrocketing. The writing was on the wall, but MySpace executives were too focused on quarterly revenue numbers to notice they were losing the war for user attention. The second devastating mistake was MySpace's complete failure to understand and adapt to changing user behavior and technological trends. While Facebook was pioneering the newsfeed in 2006, a feature that would fundamentally change how people consume social media, MySpace was still operating like a digital phone book where you had to manually visit each friend's profile to see updates. The newsfeed was initially controversial, with Facebook users protesting the feature, but it proved to be revolutionary because it made social media passive and addictive rather than active and labor-intensive. MySpace finally launched their own activity feed in 2007, a full year later, but by then, Facebook had refined their algorithm and gained an insurmountable advantage in user engagement. Mobile was another catastrophic blind spot. When the iPhone launched in 2007, Facebook immediately prioritized mobile development, while MySpace's mobile strategy was an afterthought. Their mobile site was essentially unusable, taking over a minute to load a single profile page, while Facebook's mobile app was fast and intuitive. By 2009, mobile traffic accounted for 25% of Facebook's usage, but only 5% of MySpace's, indicating that Facebook was capturing the future while MySpace was stuck in the past. Perhaps most damaging was MySpace's failure to clean up spam and fake profiles. By 2008, an estimated 30% of MySpace profiles were spam accounts, making the platform feel unsafe and unreliable compared to Facebook's stricter verification policies. The numbers from MySpace's collapse are almost impossible to believe and represent one of the fastest destructions of value in business history. MySpace peaked at 115 million unique monthly visitors in 2008, but by 2011, that number had crashed to just 34 million. They lost over 80 million users in just 3 years. During that same period, Facebook exploded from 100 million to over 800 million users, essentially absorbing MySpace's entire user base, and then some. The financial destruction was equally spectacular. News Corporation sold MySpace in 2011 for just $35 million to Specific Media, representing a loss of $545 million on their original investment. And that's not accounting for the hundreds of millions they spent trying to fix the platform. The advertising revenue collapse was even more dramatic, falling from $800 million in 2008 to under $100 million by 2011. Traffic analytics revealed the brutal truth. Users weren't just leaving MySpace, they were actively deleting their accounts and migrating their entire social networks to Facebook. The average MySpace user went from spending 8 minutes per day on the site in 2007 to just 2 minutes per day by 2010, while Facebook users were averaging over 30 minutes daily. By 2012, MySpace had laid off over 1,000 employees and closed multiple international offices, shrinking from a company of 1,600 people to fewer than 200. Leadership failures and corporate mismanagement accelerated MySpace's downfall and prevented any possibility of recovery. After News Corporation's acquisition, founders Tom Anderson and Chris DeWolf found themselves reporting to traditional media executives who fundamentally misunderstood technology and social networking. The company went through a devastating series of leadership changes. Between 2009 and 2011, MySpace had 4 different CEOs, each with conflicting visions for the platform's future. Owen Van Natta, hired from Facebook ironically, tried to transform MySpace into an entertainment-focused platform, alienating core users who wanted social networking features. His successor, Mike Jones, attempted to completely redesign the site, launching a new version in 2010 that was so different from the original that existing users couldn't navigate it, leading to an immediate 10% drop in traffic. The engineering team was constantly hampered by budget cuts and executive interference. While Facebook was spending over $1 billion annually on research and development by 2010, MySpace's technical budget had been slashed to under $100 million. Internal company documents later revealed that executives knew they were losing the battle as early as 2007, but were too focused on short-term revenue to invest in necessary improvements. The final insult came when MySpace tried to redesign itself as a music-focused platform in 2012, but by then Spotify and Pandora had already captured the digital music market, leaving MySpace without a clear value proposition in any category. The broader implications of MySpace's failure extend far beyond one company's mistakes and offer crucial lessons about innovation, user experience, and the brutal dynamics of technology markets. MySpace's collapse proved that in the digital world, user loyalty is incredibly fragile and that technical superiority combined with better user experience will always triumph over first-mover advantage. Facebook's victory wasn't just about having a cleaner interface. It was about understanding that social networking was fundamentally about human behavior, not just technology. While MySpace treated users as content creators who would tolerate poor performance in exchange for customization options, Facebook recognized that most people wanted effortless connection with minimal friction. The speed difference between platforms became crucial. Facebook pages loaded in under 5 seconds, while MySpace pages often took 30 seconds or more, and in the internet age, those 25 seconds might as well be 25 minutes. MySpace also demonstrated how quickly network effects can reverse. The same viral growth that built their empire worked in reverse once people started leaving as users followed their friends to Facebook en masse. The music industry learned painful lessons about platform dependency as thousands of artists who had built their entire fan bases on MySpace suddenly found themselves starting over on Facebook and Twitter with no way to migrate their audiences. The MySpace story stands as perhaps the most important cautionary tale in internet history, proving that no amount of early success can protect a company from the consequences of complacency and poor execution. In just 8 years, MySpace went from non-existent startup to internet giant to digital graveyard, a trajectory so extreme it seems almost fictional. Their fall cleared the path for Facebook's dominance, but it also demonstrated the incredible opportunities that exist when established players fail to evolve. Mark Zuckerberg didn't just beat MySpace, he built a trillion-dollar empire on their mistakes. Today, as Facebook faces its own challenges from TikTok, Snapchat, and emerging platforms, the ghost of MySpace serves as a reminder that digital dominance is temporary and that user attention is the ultimate currency. The platform that once connected over 100 million people and launched thousands of music careers now exists as little more than a digital museum, a reminder that in the technology world, you're only as good as your last update. MySpace's 100 million lost users didn't just switch platforms. They taught the entire internet industry that users will always migrate toward better experiences, no matter how established the incumbent appears to be. Sometimes the king of the mountain doesn't get overthrown by revolution. Sometimes they just forget to keep climbing.